Let's show my screen. There we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Simon Walker here, and we have Lionel joining us too. Am I pronouncing your name incorrectly? Is it Lionel or Lionel?
In French, it's Lionel, and in English, Lionel.
Okay, all right. I managed to butcher most people's pronunciations, so apologies.
Don't worry.
But welcome, everyone. Welcome back if you were at yesterday's sessions. And so we've got more fantastic stuff coming up today. And I'll switch over to Lionel's screen in a second. But just to remind you, in case you missed it yesterday, we have sessions tomorrow. And in fact, this document on the screen is a document that you have access to inside the webinar software. And this is a PDF. If you go down to the handout section, you can access this document. And it's got links for tomorrow's sessions and the second session today. But importantly, these links are the ones that turn into the recordings. And we're recording this session, and we're recording it already. And you'll automatically get the link to it, to the recording, after this webinar is finished. But if you want to watch any of the previous ones, then you can just go to that link in the document, and that will allow you to view the recording. And also, we really appreciate your time, and I know it's tricky that a lot of people are phoning in from home, where they're working from home, and a lot of our customers have asked if there's methods for them to be able to work remotely. So if you're part of the volume program for either Maxon or Red Giant, then please let me know and see if we can help. We've done things like extending the demo period and so on. So if you've got any questions about that, or creative questions and follow-up ones that you want to share with Lionel, please let me know, simon@redgiant.com. And just a reminder that these are the normal types of sessions that we send out to our volume program customers for Red Giant. But since the merge, we have been inviting all our Maxon friends, because we're all one company now. And if you need training for your team, if you've got a team of you who are working on production, then let us know, and we can do these sessions as custom sessions just for your team. So we can invite people like Lionel or other experts in the field to help you out, depending on which time zone you're in. And we manage this across all time zones, from the Far East to Europe and all over onto the West Coast as well. Great. So enough of my yakking. Let's hand over to Lionel for some more fantastic stuff for 3D Mograph. And I think I need to change presenter, and I can send it over to you. Here we go. Right, you should have control of the screen now, Lionel. There we go.
And here we are. So does it work? Everyone can see my screen, After Effects.
I saw it briefly, but would you mind just clicking on that share button again? Because I can just see your webcam at the moment. That's better, I can see it now.
Yeah, okay.
And just as a sanity check, hi to Seti and Ilona. Hello, welcome. And if you can see our screen and hear me and everything like that, please just say a comment in the question section. Then we know that it's all working correctly. Oh, thanks, Andrea. Thank you. Excellent. Thanks, Fernando. Thanks, Andrew. Excellent. It's all working. This is good. And also, we'll have a Q&A session at the end, but please feel free to keep typing in questions as we go through into that questions area. And we also have got the help of Jonas and Darren from Maxon, who will be answering questions as you put them in. So if there's a technical or creative question as Lionel's going through, then we can answer those immediately. And we can also ask him at the end as well, depending on how the conversation is going and if any questions have got a theme to them and that sort of thing. Great. So I'm going to hand over to you, Lionel.
Okay, so hello, everybody. My name is Lionel Vicidomini. I'm a French motion design artist living in Paris. I'm part of Motion Cafe. Motion Cafe is a small website. Well, not so small now. It's a website for motion designer, 3D, 2D, everything. as long as it's motion design. It's in French, but we do have some content in English. We have tutorials. A few of them are in English. For example, this one has been recorded in English about Chinese motion design artist. We do have some freebies too, stuff you can download free. We have a partnership with Juice where we made a pack for them. So feel free to take a look there. It's very interesting because we are not only focused on After Effects. We do a lot of 3D and everything that can be integrated into motion design. Okay, so today we're going to work on Cinema 4D and After Effects. And it's going to be very different from yesterday. If some of you were there yesterday, it was some 3D heavy stuff, doing polygon, sculpting, and everything. And all the comping was in After Effects. Today, it's more like a Mograph work. We're going to do real motion design, flat design, using After Effects and Cinema 4D. Especially, we're going to use Cineware, which is the bridge between After Effects and Cinema 4D, and what we can do interesting with it. So here we have an example of a simple transition I created with After Effects and Cinema 4D, and a few Rajan tools. Okay, so nothing too fancy, but what's interesting with that is the fact I can iterate that design very quickly, very efficiently. And that looks like 2Ds. It is 2D, but it's been done inside Cinema 4D and a few tricks inside After Effects to make it look better. But it's 90% work on Cinema 4D. We have an example here. Another one I can show here. Maybe I won't play it all. Yeah, it's refreshing. You see, it's different design with more details. And I'm sure I'm going to create some variation other than that. Okay, so for the first part, I just would like to show you how to do that kind of transition, that kind of design, all inside After Effects. It's almost only to show you how difficult it is compared to Cinema 4D. But it's still interesting to do it in After Effects because maybe some of you don't have access to Cinema 4D. So you can see you can do it inside After Effects, but it's more difficult. After Effects is a great tool, but it's a complex tool. Everything is possible, but can be very difficult. So here I have a small transition done entirely in After Effects. So it looks mostly like the other one. The difference is everything has been done inside After Effects. There is no Cinema 4D. And you can see it looks very much the same as the other one, Cinema 4D one you just saw. Okay, so here it is. So it's a hexagonal pattern being used as a transition between two pictures. So it could be a video or whatever you want. So we're going to create it in After Effects first, and then I'll do it in Cinema 4D. So in After Effects, I'm going to start inside this project, but with a new comp. I'll call it iFix. So it will be 1920 by 1080, so HDTV standard resolution. And I need to fill that with the pattern. So I could do it all inside After Effects, but that's notoriously difficult to do it in After Effects. I would have to use the shape layer. It's difficult to assemble everything, to align. That would take some time. So I'm going to use a first trick. I'm going to use Illustrator. So Illustrator, which is there. You can see I already prepared a file, but I'm going to start over. So in Illustrator, which is the best companion for After Effects, both worlds play together very well. I'm going to create a same size composition here. Okay, and now I'm going to create my X pattern. So I'll use the polygon. So my interface is in French because I couldn't do it. I couldn't put it in English. I didn't have the time to take that. You can guess whatever tools I'm using. So this is the polygon tool, and I'm going to draw the first polygon by clicking here. It will be an hexagonal polygon, 150 pixel. Okay. Now I'm going to duplicate it and offset it. And Illustrator is very good for that, much better than After Effects because it's faster and more precise because of the snapping tool, the grid, and so on. So holding Alt, I'll just do it once, then hitting Control D, repeat. I would really kill to have only that feature, you know? You just copy here, copy once, Control D, repeat with offset. Okay, so now I'm going to take this whole row and put it there. Okay, I'm going to take the two rows, offset, holding Shift to constraint. Now Control D, and that's it. In After Effects, I could do that, but it's going to take much more time because I want to have separate layer everywhere. I could have used the repeater with the shape layer inside After Effects, but I won't have access to all the individual polygon. Here, it's already done. Okay, so now I need to transfer that to After Effects. That's the tricky part. I'm going to use Overlord, which is a plugin by Adam Plouffe. I don't know how to say that. It's a plugin you can buy on the Battle Axe website. It's really great. Adam Plouffe is also the developer of Rubber Hose, which is another very popular plugin of After Effects. So Overload is going to allow us to transfer all those shapes in one click, one button. So here it is, Overload panel. And we have just one button to push here, push selection to AE. And it's going here to split layers, split shapes to layers. So in After Effects, I'm just going to verify, yes, I have my composition, and I'm going to push selection, and you can see it's happening and creating our composition. And yes, the magic of direct recording, it didn't work. I tried this several times at home before being with you. It worked flawlessly the first time. It didn't this time. So I'm just checking. I do have the same setting, same composition setting here. Okay, it is. Yes, of course, that's an honest mistake. I took only this row. So it just copied the row I selected. So now I'm selecting everything, Control A, and doing it again, and now it works. And here it is. I have my X pattern. So now I would like to colorize it. So that's another problem with After Effects. If I wanted to have some dynamic color, it's going to be difficult because I would have to colorize each shape, each layer individually to link it with expression and so on. So I'm going to use another trick. I'll use a ray dynamic palette, which is a script. I have here ray dynamic color. Just going to duck it here. I already have a palette, and I'll select every shape, and using here random mode, it's going to use those color and distribute them randomly on my composition. So let's do it. So it's taking its time. And that's After Effects. You have to be patient, even for a simple stuff like that. Okay, and we have our pattern. All right, now I want to create the transition. So my hexagonal shape are going to shrink up and down along a path. So I need to create a keyframe for that and use another trick you will see. So I'll take all my layers, Control A, and I'm going to create a keyframe for each one. Okay. Also, I'm going to increase because there is a small gap between the different layers. I'm going to increase by 1% the size. Okay, now I'm going to offset those keyframes by 10, 20 frames and put them all to 0%. Okay, now I have this animation. And now the last trick, I'm going to use a third script. So that's After Effects too. If you want to do something fast in After Effects, you have to buy, to download, install scripts to do almost everything. That's the case here. I'm going to use a Drake-Basel, which is a wonderful script by Nicolas Dufresne. He's a French guy. This is Drake-Basel. I'm going to put it there. And use the animation tool, and I'll use here the effector. So a small word about Drake-Basel. Maybe you already know that plugin, that script actually. It's a free plugin. So this one is free. It's a free plugin from Nicolas Dufresne, Rainbox Lab. Rainbox is his company. And it's a suite of tools, of free tools. It's designed to help animating character, but with time, it just developed other tools just for animation, and it's just going on for some years. And now the tool has grown and can do pretty amazing stuff. So you can download it for free on this website. And also, I would like to note that Nicolas has a Patreon on which he develops, he searches for ideas, he develops new tools. Right now, he's working on the media encoder, free media encoder based on the FFmpeg. And very often, he has some new feature he can offer. So I really you should already take a look at all that because it's really interesting. Okay, so I'll go back here, and in Drake-Basel, in the animation tool, I'm going to use the effector here. So the effector is going to create expression for every single hexagonal thing I created. It's going to be now driven by the effector. So the effector is this thing, and now you can see it works. So we did it. It took me almost a quarter an hour, 15 minutes to do that. Okay, so that's very nice because I have my hexagonal pattern nicely arranged. I can play here the effector. I have my color with ray dynamic palette here. I could change my color. It's going to update everywhere inside. That's very nice, but it took me 15 minutes because I trained for it, because I know how to do it, and because I used 3 plugins, 3 scripts, 2 paid ones. Okay, but I could do it. Now I just would have to animate the effector on the position, for example. I could also change the type of effector using, for example, infinite line, increase the inner limit, and you see it works very well. It's looking a bit like what we're going to use inside Cinema 4D. Okay, so that was the After Effects way. The only was one way to do it. There are obviously some other manners to do that, but that one is maybe one of the quickest because we have those different tools. Now we're going to see how to do that in Cinema 4D and how to go much further, much faster, with much more liberty than with that, because now if I wanted to change the size of my polygon, if I wanted to do anything, it's going to be difficult. I'll have to go back a few steps. I had to think about it. I had to pre-comp to do it again, and so on and so on. You will see with Cinema 4D, I can achieve the same look very quickly, very easily, and much faster. So let's go to Cinema 4D, unless you have question, maybe. No.
These are some amazingly fast techniques you're showing us, Lionel. This is fantastic. I've been on mute, but I've been going, oh my goodness, that saves so much time. So that's that's just incredible.
You will see with Cinema 4D that's much faster, much faster. So inside Cinema 4D here, we have almost the same thing. It's much faster to play. And you will see I'm going to create that again from scratch. It's going to be a lot faster. And because we're going to go a lot faster, we will be able to do much more complicated design, much more intricate design. Okay, so let's go. I'm going to create new file, new project. So we'll stick to the hexagonal pattern because it looks pretty nice, and to have a common point with After Effects. So I'm going to create inside Cinema 4D my base shape, which is an N side. Okay, I'll keep it the 200 centimeter base shape, because if I put it inside a cloner here, and I put the cloner in mode grid honeycomb array, it's already fixed to work with that kind of size. Okay, so that's not really some luck, because if I change the radius, you can see I would have to adapt the size. So I put it back to 200 centimeter. So I've basically done what it took me a few seconds to do in Illustrator. Here it's even faster. Okay, so this is a spline, so it doesn't show, it doesn't render. If I hit render, you can see nothing. So I need to put the N side inside an extrude. The extrude will be at 0 centimeter, because I don't need to have something plain like that. I'm faking 2D. Actually, I'm not faking it. I'm just going to use a 3D software to do 2D. So I just have a flat grid. And if I show the polygon, we have that. Okay. Now I'm going to really look like, to make it look like 2D by using a camera. I'm going to be the camera, and this camera is going to be on 0 almost everywhere. So I zero out the X, Y, and the angle here. And in object, I'm going to put it in parallel. So parallel is an isometric camera. It doesn't have any perspective. So it's better to work when you're working with 2D. And I just use the zoom to adjust the size. Okay, so this is my pattern. And the camera here, I'm going to protect it with the programming tag. And it's not programming, it's a rigging tag, I think, with the protection tag. Yes. So now I can't move it by accident. Okay, so this is my cloner. This is my basic setup. Now I need to colorize it. I need to animate it. So we're going to colorize it, and you will see, amazingly, that Cinema 4D is much better at handling color than After Effects. Okay, so I'm going to use the Mograph tool and the field. So on my cloner, I'll go put a plane effector. the plane effector is going to move everything up on the y-axis. I don't need that. But I do want to use the color. And you can see the color here. It's using field color. Okay, so let's put a field. I'm going to the fall off, and I use a random field. So you have several fields. We'll use a few of them. So I'll use a random field. And the random field, I'll ask to be working on the color here by clicking here. And I have my random color. Okay, straight away. I can control the look of the noise here by using the different mode. So for example, if I increase the scale of my noise, you will see some kind of pattern happening. It's not really obvious now because we have random noise everywhere. So maybe it'll show better with some other tool. In the color remap, if I don't use a color mode, it's going to put a random color for every tile. I don't want that. I want to use a palette. So some color I choose. I could go here and use just a color. It's going to use, I don't know the word for that. The nuance, different, same color. So it's based on the green. It could be based on blue. That's already very interesting. Maybe now we will be able to see more the pattern. You can see here, there's a pattern of noise following. If I decrease, we'll see it's more random from one color to the other. Okay, so the color remap, that's already very interesting. I would love to have that in After Effects, but we don't. But I really want to control my color. So I'm going to use here in the control mode, color, a gradient. So now with the gradient, the color are distributed along this gradient. And I can change this gradient. And actually, if I click here on the color wheel, I will have some color tools that I would love to have in After Effects again to choose my color. So I'm going just to choose a color, bright color here. And now when I turn along the wheel here, you can see I'm creating a color palette. Okay, so for example, if I like some orange, it's going to select complementary color, which are that cyan and that kind of purple. Okay, I could go there and you see it changed. I could use some different rules. So those ones, this one too, by hitting plus, it's just adding other color. And I could use those different here handle to do whatever I want. So I'll go back to the just 3 different color. I'll choose some orange, not too bright, like that. Okay, and this color palette, I'm going to take it and drag it on the gradient. And already I have my 3 colors distributed like that. But I don't want to have the smoothing between the color. So I'm going to use in the interpolation from smooth to step. Okay. And because the third color here is hidden, I'm just going to decrease like that. Okay. And now we can see the pattern I was talking about here with the field. And it's not really that random because it's a noise. So if I really want to have a pure random, we change the random mode from noise to random. So it's kind of double random. And now this is a true random distribution. I can change the seed if I don't like the distribution. Okay, so that's really interesting. Again, in After Effects, you can do that, but it's a bit difficult. Here, it's just one click. All right, so now we have our colors. I like the pattern, I like the colors. I can start to animate everything. It's very easy to, still using the field, I'm going to create a new, so I take my cloner, I'm going to create a new plane effector. The first one, I'm going to name it plane color, and this one plane, we'll call it scale. Okay, so that plane, second plane effector is working on the position. I don't want that. It's working on the color. I don't want that. So off. But I do want it to work on the scale. So I hit on the scale, uniform scale, and I'll put it negative -1. So it disappeared. Okay. Now in the fall off, I'm going to use one of those special fields. And we'll use one of the most simple one, which is the spherical field. And spherical field is going to drive the scale along you can see here, the drawing of our sphere. So it doesn't work the way I want. I want to invert it. So we'll go to remapping and we're going to invert the result. Okay. And you can see we have achieved the same thing as After Effects, but much faster. My spherical field now, if I go to here to the field, I can work on the size, increase it like that. And I could do a simple transition by just animating my size. Okay, so now if I want to animate it, I just put some keyframe here. Let's advance to 75 frame and I'll just increase the size and that's it. So this is the animation, almost the same thing as is in After Effects. But the difference is I can change the color very easily. In the random field, if I want to change this color, I just have to select it and to change it for example, that kind of pink or anything else. If I want to change this one, I just take this one. If I want to add another color here, I'm going to add this color, and I can ask how is it going to be distributed. If I don't like the pattern, I just go to the field here and change the seed. So that's really nice because we have much more control than After Effects already. But that's not all, because we can go further here. Our spherical field can be something else. So this is here just a simple transition like that. I could use another kind of transition. So my spherical field, I'm going to delete the animation. So by hitting a small tip, if you push Control and Shift at the same time and click on the keyframe, you're going to erase all keyframes in the track. So be careful because you're going to erase everything. So there's no animation anymore here. And I'm going to change the spherical field to a linear field. Okay, my linear field is 100 centimeters. I can increase it this way. And now animating along, I can create different transition.
I just wanted to say, Lionel, that these are phenomenal tricks in here, and you're just throwing in these so useful techniques. Just even the one for deleting all the keyframes, and there's a couple of people who are mentioning, Jason and Andrew are talking about your amazing procedural workflow on this. So this is fantastic.
That's just the start. For the trick with the trick with the shift and control, that's another quick tips on the Maxon channel, I think. Maybe Jonas or Glenn, I don't know, but it's one of you who showed that quick tip. I really insist that the quick tip Maxon channel is really nice. There's like 250 quick tips, I think. I watch all of them and learn very useful stuff. So you should do it too. Okay, so now we have our linear field, and I could just play it. So I'm going to create animations. This is my camera, this is the front, so I can see it here, and I'm going just to animate. So let's do it. So I'm animating the field, not the effector. Be careful about that. And putting some keyframes, offsetting, let's go to 65, and again, animating this way. All right, and created the keyframes. And because I want to have a linear motion, I'm going to appear the timeline, make appear the timeline by hitting Shift F3, Tab, L for linear, A automatic, L linear. Okay, so now it's going to be a linear transition. You can see how fast it is the playback. And now I would like to do something that would be very difficult to do in After Effects. I find that the transition is too linear again. You see, they're all sizing at the same time, the same speed. It's not very interesting. That's nice, but I would like to have some more randomness inside there. That's very easy in Cinema 4D. I'll take my plane scale and the fall off. I'm going to use a random field. So another random field, not the same. This one is used for the color. I'm going here to add a new one. And this one, in my plane scale, you can see we have some blending mode. So I'm not going to explain that because it would take me too long, but it's going to blend almost like the blending mode inside Photoshop. It's just working on the weight of the transformation you want to apply on your clones. So here, instead of max, I would like overlay. Okay, and already you can see it's not so uniform. It will be even more obvious when in my field I change the random node to a pure random. Okay, and now you can see we have randomized the transition. You can see here they're not all the same size, all the same shape. It will be even more obvious if I increase the size of my field. So now you can see a few of them are disappearing faster than the other. Okay, and that is very difficult to do with After Effects. You would have to offset keyframes, timing of the keyframes with expression or the tricks. It's difficult. It's really difficult. So that's very interesting, and that would work with any field you want to use. Okay. So one last thing I want to do with that before jumping back to After Effects and using Cineware. I find that our pattern here is a bit small. How to change that? That's really easy. I just exit the camera. So this is my pattern. I want to add something bigger. I just need to go to my cloner here and add more clones. And that's it. It's all parametric, meaning that I can change everything very easily, very quickly. I want to have a smaller hexagonal. I just increase the size of my grid. Okay, so now I need to change my linear field, make it start higher than that. So let's go this way. I'll just change here my keyframes. Now jumping to these keyframes this way, and that's it. Going back to the camera. And inside my camera, I'll just here on the zoom. And here we are. And you can see it's still very, very fast. So I can increase the size of my transition like that.
Lionel, we've had a question about the real-time playback in the viewport, and it's pretty obvious from what you're doing now that it's being really fast. But what's your take on the real-time playback for effects like this?
What do you mean with
what's
After
your
Effects,
experience? Because What's your experience? It looks to be real time for effects of this complexity, which isn't too heavily intensive on the computer. But I
Well,
just wondered what your experience was on the various machines you've used for playback in the viewport for something like this.
for something as simple as that, it's very fast on every computer I have ever used, because we are in 3D world. In 3D world, we have to animate sometimes millions of polygons. So a few stuff like that, just a piece of cake for 3D software. It's really, really easy. There is no real 3D. There is no lighting. There is no show. There's nothing. It's blazing fast. The most surprising thing is how slow can be After Effects. That's
Yes,
the bad
agree.
thing, I would say. After Effects is very slow at doing that, even though it's very easy for a computer. Now we have our computer are just incredibly powerful. We don't realize it because the software are incredibly slow. So that's the bottom
Yes,
line.
I agree. After Effects is doing a lot of stuff in the background too, which slows it down. So
Yes,
this is, as you say, as you're pointing out, this is a much faster way of working.
there is a reason why After Effects is slow, because After Effects is capable of doing anything, everything. So as everything, any software capable of doing a lot of stuff, it's going to be slow at most of the stuff. That's the trade-off. The more specialized you have the software, the faster it's going to be. In Cinema 4D, we don't have blending mode for the display, for example. So it's easier for the machine. It's not going to play video. That's also easier for the computer, and so on and so on.
Absolutely.
Okay, so now we're going to use that inside After Effects. And previously we had to render this file. So that would be pretty easy because the render is very fast. But it's going to create files. You have to load inside After Effects. And if you had changes to make, you had to go back to the 3D software, make the change, render again. So it's kind of difficult and long to do, cumbersome, I would say. So now it's very easy. I'm going to save the file, and I will call it hex simple. And let's go back to After Effects. And in After Effects, I'm going to import the file I created. So here it is, hex simple. Okay, I'm going to create a composition. Import. And as you can see, it appears inside Cinema 4D with the Cineware file. So it's a Cineware transition. And it's going to play back the animation on our window. And it doesn't seem to have yes, it works. So what's happening? I'm just checking inside Cinema 4D. I didn't forget saving the file again. Okay, so sometime you have to reload the footage. You see, it's working here. You recognize the transition, but here it doesn't appear for whatever reason. Yes, it works. It's working. Obviously, it's me because my animation here doesn't happen until the 20th frame. So that's exactly the same thing here. And as you can see, it's not as fast as Cinema 4D, of course, because basically it's rendering in background, then transferring the information to After Effects to display. So it's a bit slow. I'm just going to close that panel. But anyway, with Cineware here, we have our rendering right inside After Effects. So what we're seeing right now is the software rendering. It's very close from the final rendering, but it's not really the final one. So we'll change the render from software to final, standard final. So OpenGL would be very nice, but as you can see, we have some aliasing. So I hope in a new release of Cinema 4D, they will improve that so we can have OpenGL rendering with anti-aliasing, because right now we can't really use it. That's too bad, because that's a perfect example of a file we could use OpenGL because it's much faster to calculate. So too bad. We'll switch it to standard final, which is almost the same thing, but now it's clean. Okay, and if I play directly from here, you see it's not very fast, but it's not slow either. You see it's coming, it's playing, and I don't need to make a render in Cinema 4D. So that's really nice, because I can use it as it is, as a layer. Because this is a layer for After Effects, I can do whatever I want with it. So if I wanted to make a simple transition, I load some picture I have. For example, we have a fiber tech here. I'm going to decrease the size. And if I wanted to make a transition from there, we'll just use here the alpha mode to create the transition. See? And we're going to put another one, this one in the background, and we have a transition. Okay, and I could just duplicate, because this is a simple layer, I could duplicate the layer here, put it there, and just give it a little, just a few frames of delay to create that kind of effect. And you see now it's been loaded in the memory. It's pretty fast to play. Okay, so that's cool, but we can go further with Cineware. There's something since R19, I think, inside Cinema 4D, which is called the takes. The takes is going to allow us to create iteration of the same design inside one file. So we have our hex symbol, and I would like to change a few things. For example, the kind of transition, the way of the transition. Is it going left to right to left, up and down, and the color, for example. So the takes are there. We are on our main take. So I'm going to do a very simple change here. I would like to have the transition happening from this way, from the top right corner to the bottom left corner, so the opposite of this one. Okay, so how I'm going to do that? I'll create here from the main take, right click, a new child take. Okay, and this child take will name it top left to bottom top right. So top right to bottom left. And here I'm going to allow what's called the overtake, I think, auto take mode. So auto take mode is going to allow me to make some change to object already in the scene. So here in the object, my linear field, I'll go back to the first frame, and this linear field, we're just going to animate it the other way. So here we have the keyframes. Let's go this way. I'm going to slide it this way. Create the keyframes. Going to those keyframes, and this one, I want them to be over there. Okay, so now my animation is this one. If we go back to the takes, we will see those change has been recorded there inside the category. Okay, and if I click here on the main, I go back to my main composition. As you can see, it even records which camera you are using, because I switch from this one to this one. So for this one, I'll go back there. Okay, now if I use my take, this one, see? Two possibilities inside one file. We're going to save, so you have to save every time we make a change. And inside After Effects, you see it's reloading. And now I could take on this here. Let's create a new one. So I'll just put this example inside a new composition. We'll see it in final rendering, and let's go, for example, here. So we can see the transition is happening from this way to this way. And here in our Cineware mode, we have set take. So I'm going to change the take here. Which take do you want to use? I'll use this one. And it works. So what's really nice is in the first example here, we are still with the first transition, you see? So with one Cinema 4D file, we already have two different designs, two different ways, from the bottom left, top left to the bottom right, and from the top right to the bottom left. No need to create different Cinema 4D files and to get lost with it. And I can go further, going back here to our main stuff here, and maybe create on this one here. I'm going to right-click, new child take again. So the child take is going to inherit whatever inside the parent take, and this one I will change color. I'll name it color. And now we're going to use in the object panel. I'll go to the random field here, and the color remap, I'm going to change the color remap. And maybe I'll load back the palette. Well, I didn't save my palette, so too bad for me. I'll just quickly create a new one. So I'll just change, try to go back to this one, load it here. Step. Okay, and it's been recorded in the takes. You can see here in the color, we have a random field with the color remap. Now, if I go back there and there, okay. And what's very interesting, my color, because it's a take, it's a standalone take. If I copy the take and put it here, now I have a version, you can see. So very easily, I iterated 4 different takes, and they will be all accessible inside After Effects. I just have to change here, set take, and you can see they're all here. So different color. And another take, this one, this way again, and another take, this way. Okay, so with one Cinema 4D file, you could create a whole library of transition. So instead of going to buy for $50 11 transition, you can create with one Cinema 4D file like 100 different design with different color, different shape, different whatever you want to do, because you can go very far inside that concept. Here, for example, I'm going back to the main take. I'm going to right-click to create a new take. So it's a new take independent from the other. And this new take, we will use, for example, a box field. And in the object now, I'm going to change my linear field. And you can see here in the field, we can change the type of field. Well, actually, I'm not really sure it's going to work because there is no keyframe here. So that's something interesting to note. You can change anything you want as long as it is keyframeable. So if you can't, you can make create a keyframe here. You can change you can make the change. It's going to be recorded inside the take. Here, I don't think I can create the box. So let's try. If I create a box field, we just increase the size. So I still have my transition, as you can see, but on with the box shape. And is it going to work if I go back there? No. Well, too bad. I would have to create actually two field, one field with a box field and a field with the linear field, and just mute them between the takes. So that doesn't work. Let's go back to the box field. I'm going to delete the box field. And here in the object, the box field is going to be back a linear field. So now I'm done. Everything is set back as it should. So if I wanted to create some different field, actually I would create them and I would put some on hold on the top, not animate them, and some would be animated with the concerning take. Okay, well, I still have 5 minutes. I wanted to show you some other things, but it's a bit short. Maybe I could show a simple design.
This is also the option if you wanted to throw in a few questions at this point to Lionel.
Yeah, maybe.
By the way, I love your phrase when you show us something really cool and then you say that's cool, but we can go further, and then show us the takes. That was fantastic. And also, we've had a couple of questions about what's possible to do with the R19 release without using fields, and also some of the things that you could actually do in Cinema 4D Lite. You don't necessarily need the full version.
Well, that's bad news because the fields are really amazing. We can go very far with it, but only since R20. But we could do some amazing stuff with the R19, R18, and all the pre-release before the R20, but it was much more difficult. It was another way of thinking. You had to use a random effector playing on the weight. So it's different. It's difficult. It's not as easy to do, and there are some limitations, but it's possible. Concerning Cinema 4D Lite, no luck. You can't do much with it. Actually, you have only a few effectors. You have the fracture object. You have the fracture object, which is there. So you don't even have the cloner. You have the fracture object, and you have the random effector and the plane effector and a few fields. You can do some interesting stuff with it, but not as many as interesting as what I showed you. I think we have the takes too. The good news with Cinema 4D Lite, you can do almost half as much as what I showed you. So it's possible, but it would much more interesting to use the full version of Cinema 4D, which has some amazing feature to work with.
Of course, it's also possible, as I understand it, to open up one of the projects that's made in Cinema, the full version in Light. Of course, yes. It depends on what you've used, doesn't it?
Yes, I think maybe Jonas will be able to answer this. I think we can't with the Cinema 4D Lite. So only with After Effects, you can load full version Cinema 4D files on read only. I'm not totally sure about that. So Jonas, do you know, Darren, do you know about that?
I think it will work, but I will double check and come back in a minute.
So that would be very interesting because you could just create some Cinema 4D files on the full version and then deploy it on any After Effects with Cinema 4D Lite. But it's something to check, yes. I'm not 100% sure.
It is worth checking. We know a number of people who have workflows where they have a number of licenses of the full version, but also they have a whole team of After Effects users that they need to be able to share things with. So sometimes they render them out as transitions, as video clips. So from what you've done here, they could have that as a video element, but often that they'd like to tweak them, of course,
Yes,
when they're doing it in mid-production.
Just to be clear, the Cinema 4D full version and the Cinema 4D Lite file types are the same file type, so they can be opened in each application.
Okay, so if we use some advanced field with the Cinema 4 Lite, it's going to be red. We can use it.
There are some backward compatibility nuances. And so we'll have to examine those case by case. But for the most part, Maxon does a really good job of maintaining backwards compatibility. So we'll double check on this and get back to you.
Something to try, actually. Yeah, need to find. Okay, yeah.
Fantastic. One last quick question because we're almost out of time. But Kent has asked, can you use the color to drive the transitions in After Effects? So I know you were using the alpha channel to drive that. I suppose you could use that in a blend mode, couldn't you?
Well, actually, yes, there is a way with Duik again. There is an effector right for that. That's a funny question, but it's something I just find out today. And I talked about it with Nicolas. Nicolas is a friend, the guy who developed Duik, and it's really amazing. He added this feature, but you do have it. I don't have time to show it, but this is an effector map. So instead of driving everything with effector, which is strictly speaking the same thing as Cinema 4D, you can see it's just same thing as Cinema 4D, much slower, but the same thing. Instead of using that, the effector map is going to use a black and white image, black and white layer to drive the transform of each individual shape. And I managed to do some pretty interesting stuff with that, but it's a bit buggy. I crashed After Effects one time because it's sampling the image, the whole picture at each frame, so it's very heavy on the CPU. But yes, it's possible. Almost anything is possible in After Effects. That's amazing thing with After Effects. Almost everything is possible. It's going to be complicated and slow.
Got it. Okay, can we squeeze in another quick question from Andrew? Is it possible to use an image luminance in place of linear field effect to drive the shapes?
Yes, with in Cinema 4D, you can use we have a field for that and an effector for that, which is let's go. It's the shader field. It's going to use a black and white image. You can use the red channel, the alpha channel, the luminance channel, whatever you want. You can even use noise inside Cinema 4D. It's a very advanced field, very interesting. So you can use a picture, for example, logo, to create transition. The fields are just amazing. It took me months to discover, to master everything, because I did try everything. It's a huge work they did at Maxon on the field. It's really great.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for this, Lionel. I mean, I know there's more that you can share on this topic. We're condensing like a greatest hits down into an hour, but these have been some fantastic techniques that you've shared with us, and many people have been commenting in the lists here about the how awesome some of them are, and mind blown from torrents. Thank you for that. And by the way, I've added all the links that Lionel's been mentioning, as well as we put them in the chat section. I've added them to the follow-up email that you'll get shortly with the link to the recording as well. So feel free to click on those. And also, if you wanted to share those links, you can also use that document in the handouts section to view previous recordings, and also to book on the sessions tomorrow that we're running. And in that handout, we've got follow-up email address, simon@redgiant.com. So if you'd like to have more of these sessions, especially if you'd like complimentary ones for your team, let us know and we can book them for you as well. But once again, thank you so much, Lionel. A number of people saying
You're
thank
welcome.
you as well. And definitely need
You're
to
very
rewatch
welcome.
the recording at quarter speed. Me too. So this is fantastic. And thank you everyone for attending and joining us. We've got another 2 sessions tomorrow. Feel free to join us for those. And until the next time, thank you again, and see you on the next one.
Bye-bye.
May I squeeze in the last answer, Simon?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Thanks, Jonas.
So, yeah, there was the question about compatibility. So you can open up, full Cinema 4D files also in Cinema 4D Lite. But if some features have been used that are not available in Cinema 4D Lite, you will get a plugin error, which you can click away. You can just hit OK, then it will load anything else which is in the scene, but not those objects and shaders and so on that are not available inside of Cinema 4D Lite.
Okay.
Oh, that's good to know. Thank you. Oh, so the trick is just to click away the warning box and that loads everything else. Great.
Exactly.
That's good to know.
Nice. Thank you, Jonas. And thank you also for Jonas and Darren for answering questions on the chat pod as we've been going through. That's been really useful too. Great. Okay, well, have a great day, everyone, and we'll see you on the next one. All right, take care.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye.